Have you ever wanted to kill a god before? Here's an easy way to do exactly that. Hades is a game where you play as Zagreus, the son of the Greek god of the dead Hades, trying to escape his father's realm in order to find his mother, Persephone. You go through various places called regions in the underworld, those being Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium, and the Styx along with a few others. You find different items and godly blessings named boons to help you along your journey, and your goal is simple: get to the surface and fight your dad, killing any souls of the dead along your way. I'm someone with over 1100 hours in this game collectively. I'm going to teach you the best method as to how to kill a god. This game is what is called a roguelike, which means that no two attempts are ever the same. You'll get different upgrades and items for every single attempt you do, but if you die, you'll start back at the very beginning and lose all of them. You do get to keep a few permanent upgrades you unlock as you play more, but the bulk of your build is determined through random upgrades. Before entering a room, you get to see what rewards you will get for clearing it via the glass orb on the door/boat leading to the next encounter. More difficult rooms with tougher enemies will have a symbol indicating that it is a harder fight, but in return, you get more or better items than you would normally. These items are Darkness, which allows you to unlock more permanent upgrades, Gemstones, which allow you to purchase various small changes from someone called the House Contractor to help you for every future attempt, Chthonic Keys, which allow you to unlock more weapons, and Nectar, which you can give to various characters throughout the game. Those are all considered common rewards, and you can use those gemstones with the House Contractor to upgrade said rewards. You can also get rare rewards, which include Centaur Hearts, which upgrade your max health by 25 or 50 hit points, a Pomegranate of Power, which can level up one of your upgrades by 1 or 2 levels, making its effect more potent, Charon's Oval, which are 1 to 200 coins used in shops, which I will go into more detail about later, Daedalus Hammers, which are used to give 1 of 3 random upgrades related to the weapon you have, which I will also go into more detail on later, and Boons, which are godly upgrades similar to Daedalus Hammers, in which they are 3 random upgrades that you pick 1 of, but are generally more related to you directly. These upgrades that are given to you are randomly chosen out of a pool of possible ones determined by which god is giving you the boon, which weapon you are using, and which boons you already may have. The gods who have the chance of blessing you in an attempt are Athena, the goddess of wisdom, Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, Ares, the god of war, Dionysus, the god of wine, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, Hermes, the god of swiftness, Zeus, the god of thunder, Poseidon, the god of the seas, and Demeter, the goddess of the seasons. All of their boons are related to them in one way or another and aid you in your journey to escape your father's domain. Chaos Gates may also appear where you may interact with the originator of all creation known as Chaos, who will provide you with very powerful boons, but you must first complete a certain amount of encounters with a debuff that is tagged along with that boon. Every boon can be one of 4 rarities: common, rare, epic, and heroic. Epic is the best you can normally get, but if certain conditions are met, then it is possible for one to obtain an even stronger heroic boon. There is a hierarchy of gods for this strategy and which ones you should choose over others. The list from most important to least important goes as follows: Artemis, Ares, Hermes, Zeus, Athena, Chaos, Poseidon, Aphrodite, Dionysus, and then Demeter. There are also legendary and duo boons, which are even more rare than epic boons. These are special boons that are always the same in terms of how potent they are, but are incredibly powerful and very rare. Legendary boons typically require other boons from the same god in order to have a chance of obtaining them. These can range from a shield that blocks all damage for 1 hit and takes 20 seconds to recharge, to making certain effects from other boons even more potent or have special properties. Dual boons are arguably even stronger than legendary boons. They generally do have more prerequisites than that of a legendary boon, but overall harbor stronger upgrades and greater potential. Many different strategies, including the one that I will teach you, are based around these powerful boons and the strategies they unlock the potential of. Each region is protected by a guardian at the end of it, who each give you a super rare item. Tartarus is guarded by the Fury Sisters, Megara, Alecto, and Tisiphone, who reward you with a glob of Titan's blood, which is used to upgrade your weapons. Asphodel is guarded by the Bone Hydra of Lerna, also known as Lernie, who rewards you with a diamond which is primarily used on the House Contractor. Elysium is guarded by its champions, Theseus and Asterius, who reward you with ambrosia, which can be used on characters in the game who you have formed a strong bond with. Lastly is the Styx, and the entrance to Greece itself, which is guarded by Hades, who also gives you a glob of Titan's blood. Now, to fight through enemies and to earn all those possible rewards, you'll first need to arm yourself. Weapons, otherwise known as the Infernal Arms, are chosen before an attempt, those weapons being the Stygian Blade, or Stygius, the Eternal Spear, or Varatha, the Shield of Chaos, or Aegis, the Heart-Seeking Bow, or Coronacht, the Twin Fists of Malphon, or Malphon, and the Adamant Rail, or Exegryph. You can find all 6 of these weapons in your training grounds. To change weapons, all you have to do is walk up to the one you want to use and press the Interact button. Every weapon also comes with 4 variations with different abilities called aspects. One of them is based on Zagreus, 2 of them are based on related Greek figures, and the one hidden aspect is based on people from other mythologies or religions. When you want to change or upgrade your aspects via Titan's Blood, all you have to do is interact with a currently selected weapon. You unlock the ability to use aspects once you have unlocked every weapon, which you do by using keys on them. They all begin with the aspect of Zagreus, and you may unlock the other 2 normal aspects by using Titan's Blood normally. And you can unlock the hidden aspect by doing various side quests and then using Titan's Blood. Each weapon has both a primary attack and a special to pair along with it. In addition to these attacks, you also have a projectile move called your Cast, which fires what is called a Bloodstone that stays in the enemies that you hit with it for roughly 10 seconds. The final move in your base kit is the Dash, which is very useful when it comes to avoiding damage and dealing damage. You would primarily use it to dodge out of the way of attacks, get closer to enemies, or dash straight through an attack. Every weapon also comes with a dash attack, and some even have a dash special, which are usually quicker versions of the regular move performed by pressing the attack or the special button immediately after a dash. There are also these items called keepsakes, which are little trinkets you can obtain from various characters in the game by giving them nectar for the first time. They also upgrade just by using them. The more encounters you do, the stronger they become with a maximum level of 3. They do a variety of things, from making you do 1% or so more damage every encounter you clear without taking damage, to summoning a specific god's boon and making it more likely to have a better rarity. You can find them in a shelf-looking structure called a keepsake collection that you can find in your training area and in the room between regions. You can choose your keepsake simply by interacting with it and selecting the one you want, and once you choose one, you are stuck with it until you come across another keepsake collection. Now, for this strategy, the weapon you should use is the Twin Fists of Malphon with the aspect of Zagreus. These weapons are quick and deal damage to enemies very efficiently, and this aspect grants you a 3% dodge chance for every upgrade it has, with a maximum of a 15% dodge chance. Dodge chance is a simple but very potent effect, allowing you a chance to not take damage upon being hit. This simple concept is the key ingredient to this strategy. From the moment you start an attempt, you can begin with a 15% chance to not take damage upon getting hit, no matter how strong that hit is. In addition to this weapon, you should take the keepsake, the Lambent Plume. What this does, for every encounter you clear within a certain amount of allotted time, you gain 1% increase to your movement speed and your dodge chance. And the more you use this keepsake, the stronger it grows, going up to plus 1.2% movement speed and dodge chance. These 2 key elements are what make up the baseline of this strategy. Now, Daedalus Hammers should be a high priority item, but if you skip out on one, it is somewhat likely to appear again. One thing to keep in mind with them is that only one will appear across Tartarus and Asphodel, then only one more may appear across Elysium and the Styx. If you get a Daedalus Hammer, you should try and prioritize the upgrade Breaching Cross above all others. Breaching Cross makes it so that your dash attack does 900% more damage to enemies with armor. Armored enemies are a stronger version of regular enemies who cannot be stunned by your attacks until their armor is broken. Typically, you can find these enemies in those rooms with a symbol indicating that it is harder. This upgrade is especially helpful against Lernie, who spawns heads with a lot of armor at certain points in the fight, and Hades, who summons heavily armored enemies at certain points in the first half of his fight. It helps you gain better rewards and deal with some bosses much easier than they would be without it. While you have to dash attack to get the boost, you should constantly be dashing anyways, so your dash attack is just part of how you should be fighting. One of the permanent upgrades you can unlock is called Greater Reflex, and this helps you out because it gives you 2 dashes instead of 1. One of Hermes' boons, Greatest Reflex, can also give you 1 to 3 extra dashes depending on its rarity. Now, every god can give you boons for your attack, special, cast, dash, and an extra move known as a call. You charge this move up as you attack and defeat enemies, and the amount of charges it holds depends on which one you get. If you max out the meter for it, called the God Gauge, then you can use the greater version of that call, which then takes the normal effect of it and makes it last for a much longer period of time. The upgrades you should try to go for are Zeus's attack boon, Lightning Strike, which chains lightning between enemies, Ares' cast boon, Slicing Shot, which sends out a circle of blades called a Blade Rift wherever you shoot it, Athena's dash boon, Divine Dash, which lets you reflect any projectiles or attacks that hit you during your dash, and Artemis's call boon, called Artemis's Aid, which, when fully charged, summons many arrows that deal considerable amount of damage. The special boon is pretty much up to personal preference, but I would recommend either Artemis's special boon, Deadly Flourish, or Ares' special boon, Curse of Pain. Practically all boons for your fundamental moveset give you a damage boost, as well as providing a special effect depending on which god you choose. Every god, except for Hermes and Chaos, has one or two effects associated with them. Marked for Artemis, which gives you a higher chance to do a critical hit, which results in triple damage. Doom for Ares, which spawns a blade over the top of the affected enemy's head, which deals substantial damage after a second or two. Lightning for Zeus, which either causes lightning to chain between enemies or strike foes directly. Jolted for Zeus, which makes affected foes deal damage to themselves or other enemies around them whenever they attack for a brief period of time. Deflect for Athena, which allows you to deflect enemy attacks and projectiles, making them do much more damage to those enemies in return. Exposed for Athena, which makes afflicted enemies take more damage when striking from behind. Knockback for Poseidon, which simply knocks foes you hit away from you. Rupture for Poseidon, which also makes afflicted enemies temporarily take damage every fifth of a second while moving. Weak for Aphrodite, which makes foes afflicted by this deal less damage for a few seconds. Charmed for Aphrodite, which makes enemies that are not guardians temporarily attack other enemies instead of you. Hangover for Dionysus, which makes afflicted enemies take damage every half a second, which can stack up to 5 times. And finally, Chill for Demeter, which can cause enemies to be slowed by around 4%, and it can stack up to 10 times. Chaos boons do not give you an effect in the same vein as the others do, but does provide a separate boost to what you select, which is typically stronger than was offered by the other gods. Hermes does not provide traditional buffs to your damage like the other gods do either, but instead has more utility-based upgrades. Upgrades such as making you attack faster, move faster, or gain a little bit of obol every time you enter a room. In addition to the base upgrades previously mentioned, there are many other upgrades you should try and get during an attempt. A few of the Ares upgrades you want are Black Metal, which causes Blade Rifts to do more damage in a wider area, Engulfing Vortex, which causes Blade Rifts to last longer and pull foes into it, and Vicious Cycle, which makes Blade Rifts deal more consecutive damage. Some Artemis upgrades to go for are Fully Loaded, which gives you 2 extra Bloodstones for your cast, Supporting Fire, which makes it so every attack and special you hit, and for every cast you shoot, you also launch a homing arrow that deals damage, Pressure Points, which allows any damage you deal to have a chance of being a critical hit, and Hunter Instinct, which makes it so critical hits charge your God Gauge faster. Some Zeus boons to be on the lookout for are Storm Lightning, which makes your Chain Lightning bounce more times between enemies before disappearing, Static Charge, which makes your lightning attacks also cause the Jolted effect, and Clouded Judgment, which allows your God Gauge to charge faster when attacking or taking damage. The final god you should really prioritize is Hermes, and he provides 4 very valuable boons for this strategy. Those boons are Greater Evasion, which gives you a higher dodge chance, Greater Recall, which makes it so any dropped Bloodstones return to you immediately, Bad News, which makes it so your cast does more damage to foes without Bloodstones in them, and Rush Delivery, which makes you deal more damage for every movement speed bonus you have. Those are all just regular or legendary boons, however. The real power comes from the duo boons you can have. The main one you want every time you use this strategy is Hunting Blades, which simply makes your Blade Rifts track enemies. This, along with several other of the previous upgrades related to the cast, makes it so when you shoot out all of your Blade Rifts, you rack up hundreds of damage in seconds, while you can also avoid attacks. There are several other duo boons that can help with this cast strategy even further. One of those boons is Curse of Drowning, which deals a damaging pulse 3 times for every cast, and Floodshot also helps a lot due to firing a second cast that does about 30% of the damage of your main cast, which is also affected by the 2 other duo boons mentioned. Now there are 4 things that these boons are based on that help this strategy. Those things are big cast damage, good dodge chance, chaining lightning between enemies, and massive call damage. The cast strategy makes it so that you can easily shoot out all of your casts and rack up thousands of damage without even needing to actively attack the enemies. The dodge chance strategy allows you to be bad at avoiding attacks or allows for mistakes and lets you get away with it far more than you ever would otherwise. The chain lightning strategy simply helps you be constantly dealing damage to any enemies around you, and it is especially good for hordes of enemies. Lastly is the call strategy, which is the most simple but possibly the most potent due to it being as simple as getting your god gauge full as often as you can so you can unleash a massive attack that can make a guardian's health bar go down by entire sections. Every guardian has sections to their health, where when they reach them they are immune to damage for a brief period of time. The Fury Sisters' health is split into quarters, Lernie's health is split into thirds, both Theseus and Asterius' health are split into halves, and Hades' health is split into thirds until you defeat him, when he then gets up for a second phase where his health is split into halves. With Artemis's aid at a high level and or rarity, it can cause entire sections of a Guardian's health to be completely skipped. I've gotten to the last part of a Guardian's health just to immediately defeat them after using this call once. Next are shops, which are fairly simple. Throughout each region, you can encounter a room with a man named Charon, who is the shopkeeper in this game. Here he sells 3 random items you can come across in the game, like boons and health, along with some exclusive items such as an Anvil of Fates, which removes one of your Daedalus Hammer upgrades, but gives you 2 random ones in return, and a mystery boon, which is cheaper than one where you know which god it is going to be, but the god's boon who you receive is random. You can use any of the obol you acquire on your journey at these shops, but any you gain is lost at the end of an attempt. You use it, or you lose it. Charon is guaranteed to show up twice in every region, except for the Styx, where he is one big shop that is always there. In that shop, there will be 5 rare items, plus an exclusive super rare item which can normally only be attained through defeating guardians. Charon will show up in the middle and at the end of a region. If you choose to visit his shop in the middle of a region, then there is a chance that beside him will be a bag of several hundred obol that you can borrow. Along with Charon's shop being offered at the end, you may choose instead a room with a free rare upgrade right before the Guardian fight of that region. You can also find Wells of Charon, which are smaller shops where you can spend your obol on a random selection of 3 exclusive items that last for a certain amount of encounters, such as a temporary attack buff or speed boost. When you borrow from Charon, you gain a couple hundred obol and are punished for being a thief. Charon brings you to a new region called Erebus, where a fight with him ensues. While his fight is far from easy, once you get him to roughly a fifth of his health, you win. You then get not only to keep your stolen goods, but also a loyalty card, which makes it so you get 20% discounts on all of his goods for the rest of your attempt. This is very worth it, so you can purchase all of his goods in the Styx for a discount. It is really only worth it to go for this in Elysium, however, because if you do it before then, you will likely die due to how strong he is. It is not guaranteed that the bag will appear next to him, but if it does, then it is very worth your time and effort to gain that loyalty card. An aspect that is very important to getting a good attempt is having the right permanent upgrades. The Mirror of Night is an object that you can interact with before the beginning of an attempt and is where you spend your hard-earned darkness on permanent upgrades. You can acquire darkness from clearing encounters that reward you with it, purchasing it from Charon, or defeating bosses that you have already defeated before with the same weapon. The more darkness you use on one of the upgrades, the stronger it becomes. There are 12 upgrades available at a time, but each of them have 2 sides that do similar things in essence, but go about it in different ways. The upgrades typically give you a % for every time you have upgraded it, maxing out after so many upgrades. These integers are called ranks and are thus used when describing how these upgrades work. Not all of these modifiers are created equally, however, and here are the ones I believe are best for each of the 12 possible slots. Shadow Presence deals an extra 10% per rank attack and special damage when striking foes behind, with a maximum of 50%. Dark Regeneration restores some health when you collect darkness, which is 30% of the collected amount per rank, with a maximum of 60%. Next is both Death Defiance, which upon losing all health, uses 1 Death Defiance and brings you back up to 50% of your max health, with a maximum of 3 per attempt, and Stubborn Defiance, which also revives you upon losing all your health, but you only get 1 that replenishes at the beginning of each encounter that heals you 30% at your max health. Both of these are very good, but for someone less skilled, Stubborn Defiance is going to be better. Greater Reflex simply grants you an extra dash, which sounds simple, but is very nice and very helpful in certain situations. Boiling Blood deals 10% extra damage and special damage per rank to enemies with a bloodstone in them with a maximum of a 50% increase. Infernal Soul simply makes it so the amount of casts you can hold goes from 1 up to a maximum of 3. Golden Touch makes it so for every time you clear a region, you gain 5% per rank of the obol you currently have with a maximum of 15%. Thick Skin makes it so you have plus 5 maximum health per rank with a maximum of an additional 50 max health. Family Favorite makes you deal an additional 2.5% damage for every boon you have with a maximum of a 5% increase. Olympian Favor raises your chance of getting a rare boon by 1% per rank with a maximum of 40%. God's Legacy raises your chance of getting a legendary or duo boon by 1% per rank with a maximum of 10%. Finally is Fated Persuasion, which grants you a reroll point that allows you to randomly alter a boon, Daedalus Hammer enchantment, or a Well of Charon selection with a maximum of 5 reroll points. Next is a special type of room that you may come across in your attempts. These are chambers where characters exclusive to these rooms may lay in wait for you to come interact with them. There is one for every region except for the Styx. These characters are Sisyphus, who is in Tartarus, Eurydice, who is in Asphodel, and Patroclus, who is in Elysium. All of them will always provide you the same 3 options every time you come across one of them, but it is rare to encounter more than one in an attempt. Sisyphus will provide you with either health, darkness, or obol. While it does depend on how you are doing in your attempt, it is generally best to choose darkness over the other two. If you are very low on health, you should likely choose health. And if you are at full health and do not need darkness for the mirror, or do not have dark thirst on, then obol could be better. If you do need darkness, however, be it for the mirror, health, or both, it is pretty much always better to choose darkness. Eurydice will provide you with 3 different food items: Ambrosia Delight, which will upgrade 2 of your boons randomly by 1 rarity, Palm Porridge, which upgrades 4 of your boons randomly by 1 level, and Refreshing Nectar, which upgrades the rarity of the next 3 boons you find by 1 more than they would be normally. There is no real hierarchy with these items, and it truly does come down to what boons you currently have. If you only have a few good boons, go for Ambrosia Delight. If you only have a handful of good boons, go for Palm Porridge. If you really don't have any good boons yet, then go for Refreshing Nectar. All of her items really just come down to what you have and personal preference. Last is Patroclus, who will provide you with one of 3 premium versions of items you can obtain from the Wells of Charon. Those items are Cyclops Jerky, which boosts your attack by 60% for 10 encounters, Hydrolite Gold, which heals you 30% of your health after every encounter for 5 encounters, and Kiss of Styx Premium, which refills all of your Death Defiances, or Touch of Styx Dark, which causes your Stubborn Defiance to revive you at 80% of health instead of 30%. All of these are helpful in one way or another, but you should always go for Kiss of Styx Premium / Touch of Styx Dark unless you are using Death Defiance and you have not used any, in which the item you should choose is up to personal preference. With all of that in mind, you should have an extremely effective method for defeating Hades and getting one step closer to beating the game. The way you beat the game is by defeating Hades 10 times. While that may sound like a lot, once you have beaten him once, it only gets easier the more you learn his attacks and patterns. Another thing worth mentioning are those upgrades you can get for the common rewards. When upgraded, Darkness gives you an additional 5 max health, Gemstones give you 10 obol, Chthonic Keys give you 1 reroll point, and Nectar upgrades a random boon by 1 level. Another thing to keep in mind is that sometimes, randomly throughout an attempt, Thanatos, who is the physical incarnation of death, will appear and you must defeat more enemies than he does. If you do not, then nothing happens, but if you do, then he will reward you with a free Centaur heart. You should also do your best to use the environment around you to your advantage. There are many hazards in all the regions that can hurt you, but can also hurt enemies. Knocking enemies into these hazards can help you clear out rooms much quicker. Hitting enemies against walls also deals bonus damage, as well as hitting pillars near them, which will drop rocks on top of any enemies around it. Now, you might not have access to everything I mentioned in the setup, but that's okay. You don't need every single one of these in order to have a chance at winning. These are just what you should be using if you have them available. The key ingredients are the Lambent Plume and Malphon with the aspect of Zagreus, but everything else is more subjective. You'll not have all of these available to you right off the bat, but with a little effort, you can gain at least a good portion of them before you beat Hades for the first time. It took me close to 70 attempts to beat him a single time on my first playthrough, But when I was replaying the game with this strategy, it only took me about 15 attempts. The first attempt I did after unlocking the aspects, I had 1. You will need to grind for some things, but once you have enough, you'll be able to steamroll like you never could before. If you know how to execute this strategy, then you know exactly how to kill a god.